So could you maybe just kind of take a moment to explain like what these two terms are, maybe why they're interesting, and then just kind of how you think about it in the context of Pantera?
Yeah, so NFTs are non-fungible tokens, and they're essentially buying a digital form of some scarce asset like art or even literature that you essentially own the only version of, the only copy of. We've looked at a handful of investments in the NFT space. We haven't really made a big commitment. And I know there are some people out there that are, very bullish on this. There are some potential things with music, digital art or digital native type art that could be very interesting for the NFT market, but we really haven't made a huge commitment there. The place we have made it is DeFi. So it stands for decentralized finance. And the way to think about it is the other protocols of the internet revolutionized everything else in commerce. How we buy things, how we communicate with people, basically everything in our lives has been changed by the internet. But banking basically is the same as it was from the Medici set of double entry bookkeeping in the 15th century. It's the same. Visa, MasterCard's been charging the same rate since 1965. Western Union's been around for 140 years. Like all of those businesses basically weren't touched by the internet. Blockchain is bringing the internet to those businesses. And DeFi is one of the sectors. It's decentralized finance. And everything about the internet was taking the middleman out of the expense base. Like Amazon taking out 1 billion mom and pop stores and making it much cheaper and faster for people to do their shopping. And that's basically what DeFi is doing. It's taking the middleman out of borrowing and lending and other applications. The easiest one to think about is the borrowing and lending. The way banks work is they take in deposits, typically pay zero on the deposits, and then they lend the money out. Most of the time they do a good job lending the money out. Every 10 years they blow up and the taxpayers have to bail them out. So it's a pretty wonky and expensive system. In DeFi, you're using code to escrow or custody the funds, and borrowers are getting a much higher, borrowers are getting a much lower rate to borrow at, and lenders or depositors are getting a much higher rate. So you're basically taking the bank or other finance type company out of the middle, matching borrowers and lenders, and the code takes a tiny, spread for providing the service, but it's much, much lower than is in the traditional markets. And then the other benefit is, there's no taxpayer bailouts all the time. So it's going to be easier on society. And the DeFi space exploded over the last 9 to 12 months. It's now about 40 billion of assets locked up in DeFi. In our world, we're all really excited about that because we've been, big investors in that sector for a while. But that's still a microscopic fraction of the $200 trillion worth of bonds and equities out there. So I think, we still have, a decade or two to go on DeFi, but it certainly is, in our opinion, it's the most important growth sector.
It's been pretty crazy to see NFTs in particular blow up recently. I think I saw a Google Trends chart that was basically showing how like DeFi has kind of been steadily on the rise and people thinking about it, and NFTs have just kind of come out of nowhere and kind of taken the limelight. And I think NFTs are super interesting in how they can, play out in art and games and lots of different things. But DeFi as a concept feels more disruptive in terms of like the good that it can bring, like systemic good that it can bring to financial systems around the world. So yeah.
It can, and it's also in the exchange space that we're used to having, big monolithic exchanges that take in a lot of capital and hold people's assets for a few days as things settle. And with DeFi exchanges, the buyer and the seller are matched up by code. The code escrows the assets. So there's, again, a lot lower cost, a lot lower risk to society. There's exchanges like 1inch that are now being a massive decentralized exchange aggregator. So they're, matching up lots of different individual decentralized exchanges. We're investing in a project called Akala that's a DeFi layer on Polkadot, and Polkadot itself is one of the most exciting blockchains we see out there. So, there's a lot going on both on the borrowing and lending side and also on the exchange space side.